Apache Junction Council meeting to order. Invocation will be led by Vice Mayor Wilson and the pledge by Councilmember Schroeder.
Heavenly Father, we are gathered together this wonderful evening to perform city business. Please be with us and our staff as we continue to keep this community a great place to live, work, and raise a family. We have been enjoying the overabundance of floral display from blues to yellows. The desert has been a very beautiful colors this year. We continue to enjoy this for the next few weeks, but we now must take measures to remove all the potential fire hazards. We ask for your oversight of this and help us protect our community and our state. Keep everyone safe. We ask for your protective hand for all our first responders as they protect our possessions in our community. We extend this to our military members and their families wherever they are serving throughout the world. Bring them all home safe each and every day. In the Lord's name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Surtee,
Here.
Vice Mayor Wilson,
Here.
Councilmember Barker,
Here.
Councilmember Evans,
Here.
Councilmember Rizzi,
Present.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Here.
Councilmember Struble,
Here.
all members present. You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that the consent agenda be accepted as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Rizzi,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Barker,
Yes.
Councilmember Struble,
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Mayor Surtee,
Yes.
unanimous, Your Honor.
We have some proclamations. We have 4 tonight. And instead of me reading them all, we're going to spread that out among the council. So the first one is going to be Fair Housing Month, read by Councilmember Barker.
All right. Fair Housing Month, April 2019. Whereas the National Fair Housing Law of 1986 is amended by the Fair Housing Amendments Act of 1988, prohibits discrimination in housing, and declares it a national policy to provide within constitutional limits for fair housing in the United States. And whereas the principle of fair housing is not only national law and national policy, but a fundamental human concept and entitlement for all Americans. And whereas cities and towns in Arizona also provide services and programs that enhance the quality of life for residents, such as parks, infrastructure, libraries, community centers, and recreational programs. And whereas April has traditionally been designated as Fair Housing Month in the United States, now therefore Jeff Surtee, Mayor of the City of Apache Junction, Arizona, does hereby proclaim April as Fair Housing Month.
Is there anyone here to accept this? Heather.
Photo time, Heather.
Tear it in half. And the next one will be National Crime Victims Week by Councilmember Rizzi.
This is a long one. National Crime Victims Rights Week, April 7th through April 13th, 2019. Whereas Americans are the victims of 20 million crimes each year, affecting individuals and communities. And whereas years of investment in crime victims' rights and services have developed a system of victim response that can help victims recover from crime. And whereas reaching and serving all victims of crime is essential to supporting thriving communities, because those who receive holistic services and support are more likely to remain invested in their communities. And whereas dedicated victim service providers are working every day to meet the needs of crime victims, yet there are still too many victims without meaningful access to rights and services. And whereas many victims face barriers such as isolation, distrust of authorities, language limitations, lack of transportation, or cultural barriers that keep them from accessing the services and criminal justice systems that can help them recover from crime. And whereas we must make a dedicated effort to expand the circle of those prepared to respond to victims and link them to the resources that can help them recover. And whereas engaging a broader array of healthcare providers, community leaders, faith organizations, educators, and businesses can provide new links between victims and services that improve their safety, healing, and access to justice. And whereas National Crime Victims' Rights Week provides an opportunity to recommit to ensuring that all victims of crime, especially those who are challenging to reach or serve, are afforded their rights and receive a trauma-informed response. And whereas the City of Apache Junction is hereby dedicated to strengthening victims and survivors in the aftermath of crime, building resilience in our communities and our victims' responders, and working for justice for all victims and survivors. Now therefore, Jeff Surtee, Mayor of the City of Apache Junction, Arizona, does hereby proclaim April 7th through April 13th, 2019 as Crime Victims Week in Apache Junction, and reaffirm the city's commitment to creating a victim services and criminal justice response that assists all victims of crime during Crime Victims Week and throughout the year, and to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for those community members, victims service providers, and criminal justice professionals who are committed to improving response to all victims of crime so that they may find relevant assistance, support, justice, and peace.
And it looks like the chief will, okay.
Mayor and Council, I'd like to have Ray Villa from our CAFA collaboration come up and accept the proclamation from you. He's one of our great partners dealing mainly with domestic violence.
Do you want to say anything first?
He always wants to say.
Yeah, let's let him do that first, then I'll come down and give it to him.
Well, all I want to say that it's a pleasure to be part of this proclamation and to work in a city that cares so much about victims of crimes. And as we advocate not only for domestic violence victims, but also for sexual violence victims, we want to make sure that we provide all kinds of trauma-informed care to them so they receive the quality services that they deserve. And that's one of the things that we like with our partnership with the police department. It gives us an opportunity to do that, so thank you for this opportunity.
Get the peanut butter in there.
National Volunteer Week by Councilmember Evans.
Whereas the entire community can inspire, equip, and mobilize people to take action that changes the world, and whereas volunteers can connect with local community service opportunities through many community service organizations, and whereas individuals and communities are at the center of social change, discovering their power to make a difference. And whereas during this week, all over the nation, service projects will be performed and volunteers will be recognized for their commitment to service. And whereas the giving of oneself in service to another employs the giver and the recipient. And whereas experience teaches us that government by itself cannot solve all of our nation's social problems, and whereas our country's volunteer force of over 64 million people is a great treasure, and whereas volunteers are vital to our future as caring, productive nation and city. Now, therefore, Jeff Surtee, Mayor of the City of Apache Junction, does hereby proclaim April 7th through the 13th, 2019 as National Volunteer Week
in Apache Junction and urge our fellow citizens to volunteer in their communities. By volunteering and recognizing those who serve, we can replace disconnection with understanding and compassion.
Do we have any volunteers here?
I see a couple.
Just a few.
But we do. I know most people out here do volunteer, and we appreciate all of you. So, okay. And last we have National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Whereas the entire community can appreciate and recognize the professional 911 police telecommunication officers who have impacted the lives of many, and whereas a group of professionals who are responsible for our nation's first-line homeland security on a daily basis, and whereas admire the professionals who have dedicated their lives to bringing others by answering the call every single day and bearing tremendous responsibility. And whereas during this week, all over the nation, ceremonies will be held and police telecommunications officers will be recognized for their outstanding service and commitment to public health and safety. And whereas the dedication, hard work, anger, frustration, tears, and smiles that go on every day, one call at a time, making the world a better place. And whereas appreciating the skills they bring to every emergency call, no matter how serious or trivial, which keeps our officers and the public safe. And whereas our country's police telecommunications officers and 911 professionals are dedicated to meeting the technological demands placed upon them in our rapidly changing world, even if it means making personal sacrifices during these troubled times. And whereas police telecommunication officers are the behind-the-scenes heroes who make the difference in the lives of others. Now therefore I, Jeff Surtee, Mayor of the City of Apache Junction, Arizona, do hereby proclaim April 14th through the 20th, 2019, as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in Apache Junction, and urge our fellow citizens to show their appreciation by calling the police department and thanking the police telecommunication officers for their commitment to you and your family. They are the voice of comfort and compassion, serving you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Chief, you don't want them to be calling 911 to do that, right?
No.
Okay.
I was just going to add that. Don't call 911.
Thank you. Mayor, Council, Tom Kelly, Police Chief. I'm going to have Lisa Emmenheiser, the Senior Telecommunications Supervisor, accept it. But I thought I'd just bring out one little point. Aside from everything that you said in the proclamation, which is 100% correct, your department here, as I made mention in the awards ceremony, responded to just shy of 50,000 calls for service last year. And then I asked the supervisor to pull up what we responded to in 911 calls. And I was actually surprised. 19,913 calls for 911 alone last year. So Lisa, if you'd accept the telecommunications. Wow. And thank you very much for the proclamation.
Wow. Wow.
Can't get out of the picture.
To be in the picture, Chip.
Trying
Thanks
get
to
out.
my fellow council members for reading that and saving my breath. Do we have any announcements?
Yes.
Yeah, on the 27th, some of us had the opportunity to go to Gilbert to the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast. It was very nice. It was outside. The weather was lovely. They had singing and wonderful, wonderful speeches, prayers, etc., that were very heartwarming, and I'm really glad that we got to attend that. And then on Friday, Bryant and I went down to Eloy to the dedication of their new city hall. It's beautiful, very, very nicely done. They have a council chamber that is so cool. It is just so cool. You have to see the inside of the council chamber, guys, because this is what we want. We want this.
Did you bring pictures?
I will get them. It's marvelous. It really is.
And they had wonderful bacon at that breakfast, too.
They did. I didn't
Yeah.
have any bacon. Well,
Yeah.
drat. They were out of coffee every time I went to get coffee, so.
Robert?
Yeah, we could go, all right, we could go Saturday. but we'll start with this one. This coming Saturday is the yesteryear event by the Boys and Girls Club, a fundraiser, the Boot Scootin' Buckaroo Barn Dance. Everybody dressed up in Old West wear, and it's for our neck of the woods. It's the largest fundraiser that we put on in the year, and over the past years, we've raised $90,000 to $100,000 in the evening, and we're hoping that this Saturday we'll be able to at least match that, if not get a little better than that. And then a week ago Saturday, I had the privilege to be Little League opening day for our baseball teams out here at the fields behind the Smez. And of course, Banner Goldfield and our mayor simultaneously each threw out the first pitch, which was pretty cool. They honored some sponsors. And I will say this, that I had a call from a friend of mine last week whose son played on those fields on Thursday, and he said that those fields have tremendously improved. I mean, they have really come a long way, and he can't wait to play on them again. And we had some young kids, some girls came and sang the national anthem. They had the flags out there. They had dunk tanks out there. They had the hot dog cart, and it was a nice little afternoon for the kids. And I hope for their season that they have a really healthy and happy competition in their playing. Because what's a little baseball without competition, right? You got to get out there and play.
And the mayor threw a strike.
Oh, he did, actually. Yes.
Speaking of competition, anybody else advertising the peanut butter and jelly competition? Are you going to advertise it?
Yep.
Then I'm good. I'm going to let others talk tonight.
Go ahead.
Okay, want me? All right, yes.
That way.
If you remember last council, I got the information about the local 4-H group that was going to be down at Pinell County Fairgrounds. And they're called the Country Kickers 4-H. And they had fairly good, actually outstanding results. They had 13 participants, the children that went down, and they participated. They brought animals. They had 6 different species of animals, 12 animals with many additional projects that they had. The picture there is of a individual, Baden Dillard. He got champion junior sheep showmanship for his animal, and second in the heavyweight lamb market. And I watched the animal going up for bid and it bidded out to a little over $6 a pound, which the animals weighed a little over 132 pounds. So he got some funds for it. What was interesting was when he walked away after the picture was taken, he handed I'll say the lead rope to his mother because he had to go and do something, and that lamb tried its best to follow him away. It was very aspect on it. They had encouraged us to bid, but my wife said definitely no, because any animal that comes on my property is condemned for life, the rest of its life on our property, so my pocketbook said no. And there's a picture of his sister with her goat, and her goat placed 6th place in the heavyweight market for goats, and we got to see the goat and talk to her for a little bit, and they were all excited. There was 4 animals that were auctioned off and were purchased by Dennis Mack from the A.J. Elks Lodge, and Denny Walter from Lost Dutchman Days, the chairman, purchased a hog from the kids that went there. So really and truthfully, they did a fantastic showing of actually over 40 ribbons and places for their animals that they did. So it was a very profitable for them. So even the community helped out, so it was very something that the kids were very proud of. And here's the 13 kids, and they did very well and represented us fantastically at Pinell County Fairgrounds.
Gail?
This past week, I attended a board training that was put together by our own Heather Patel, presented by a gal from Glendale. And the main title was A Guide to Understanding Boards and Effective Governance. They had a lot of really good ideas as the city is growing, of additional things we need to do for our boards, and picking our boards and training our boards. And I actually would like to speak to somebody about adding this to the CLI, because it was so pertinent to the boards that we have within our city. It was a very worthwhile class. There was attended by 25 people that was also not just from the city, but also nonprofit boards that it pertained to as well. This weekend is a really big city event for the Ladybug release at the Earth Heart Park. Boy, it's just such a neat event. I hope everyone can make it. I'm a member of the Community Development Corporation Board, and we're going to have a table there. I've always been told that you can't sell a secret. So I have this peanut butter and jelly sitting up here for the United Way gathering for kids this summer. If you want to bring a jar of peanut butter or jelly or both, the Community Development Corporation will gladly get it to the parties to have it all distributed. I think seeing it says way more than my crackly voice. This past Thursday, the city employees did their annual scrub and grub. And it's just amazing, the employees that we have cleaning their own offices. I mean, it's really amazing how we all pulled together and save the city money, basically, by doing it ourselves. It was a real interesting morning, and I want to thank everyone that participated, because it does save us a lot of money doing it this way. And that's it.
Sure. I was able to attend the opening ceremony for the Little League Baseball. That was really cool to see all those little kids, young adults out there looking forward to playing baseball. It brought back a lot of memories back when I was younger and able to do that and run around and not hurt myself and things like that. But it was great, and I look forward to go out and watching them. Council Member Evans mentioned this Saturday there's going to be some great not just releasing the ladybugs, but also some singing and such things, entertainment, and just so you can come out. The last 3 performers are going to be the winners of the AJ Kids Idol, so you can come out and listen to the young people do that, and look forward to next year's AJ Kids Idol. Throw out a little plug there. And then just to follow up on the peanut butter and jelly, there's a number of businesses out in the community that are just doing that and have thrown out a challenge to other businesses to gather up and have our patrons come and provide peanut butter and jelly, and then we're going to have a competition. I'm not sure what's going to come of it, but we'll figure out something for the winner.
Sandwiches?
Peanut butter sandwiches. I love peanut butter sandwiches.
Back to Gail.
I'm sorry, I did forget one thing. I've noticed recently that St. Mary's Food Bank has a lot of food boxes set around the community. I wanted to remind everybody, St. Mary's doesn't give any of that food to Apache Junction. In years past, they did, but it was about 3 or 4 years ago.
They stopped.
They stopped doing it, but yet we still get their containers asking for donations. So I just want everybody to be aware, if you want to donate some food, please take it to the AJ Food Bank. Don't put it in, I hate to say don't put it in their containers, but all of that food leaves the community. And I think that's
Okay.
sad, but important to remind everyone.
Yes.
I'm going to elaborate a little bit on the peanut butter and jelly challenge. Councilmember Struble and Councilmember
Evans.
Sorry, just want to say Gail, had talked about this peanut butter and jelly challenge. I'm just going to elaborate a little bit. It was, several of the businesses had been approached by United Way, so this is being put on by United Way in partnership with the Empowerment Systems. And yes, it is a competition. Some of us had gotten together and whoever collects the most, I think Councilmember Struble and I decided that one of the two of us is going to take a peanut butter and jelly pie in the face for whoever loses this competition. But it's going to benefit all the children in the different schools in Apache Junction, whether it's the Apache Junction School District, some of our charter schools. Whatever is collected, last year they collected 300 jars altogether. We're hoping to collect way more than that with this competition going. And so this peanut butter and jelly is going to go into the backpacks of school children over the summer to make sure that they have something to eat. And so I just wanted to mention that. It goes on through the month of April. And so if you check on Facebook, you can see a variety of different businesses that are collecting for that. So thank you for the time, Mayor.
And just so you know, I'll win or lose, I'll take a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in the face.
I hope they both lose and they both get it. Robert, the tickets, do they have to pre-buy those tickets for the yesteryear event, or can they just show up? I think they need to pre-buy.
I do believe you need to pre-buy them. You can just call the number on the flyer. They are a pre-buy situation. There may be some left.
Okay.
Table-wise, probably not.
Okay. This is the fundraising season, and there's a lot of wonderful things going on all the time. City Manager Powell and I went to our neighbors at Superstition Mountain Country Club, and our guests tonight were there from Republic Services, and that community really put out and raised a bunch of money for the Boys and Girls Club as well. But it just shows how I've been saying all along, the communities are linked, and you can see it right there, that we are all one community out here. Another thing that comes up, as you know, we're a member of the Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport, and there's been this project that's been happening called Skybridge, and everybody's excited about it, and it's always real difficult to explain what it is and how it's going to work. Well, they have come up now finally with a very nice video that explains it, and after you watch this 4-minute video, you're going to have a much better idea of what goes on at the airport, what Skybridge is going to do, and the opportunities that it's going to open up for our community and the jobs. Lights?
Do we need the lights anymore?
Al, you had one job. Here we go.
From the beginning, mankind has explored the world looking towards new horizons. We have traveled long distances, created new roads, and overcome challenges and obstacles. This philosophy has inspired us to seek new markets in order to achieve elevated goals. SkyPlus is a company dedicated to aerospace logistics, which has become a market leader in the international trade environment. With the setup of the first aerospace park in Guanajuato, Mexico, SkyPlus offers direct distribution shipment, clearing to any part of the country. Recognizing future trade flows and opportunities, Skybridge embarked on a journey to develop and market the first air-unified cargo inspection logistics hub in the interior United States, changing the way high-value goods reach Mexican consumers, supported by Mexican and American customs. Located at the Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport, Skybridge, Arizona will not only be an international logistics center, but also a research, development, and aerospace manufacturing hub, turning Arizona into an important source of employment in the Southwest Corridor, creating thousands of new direct and indirect jobs. In Mexico, the growth of e-commerce opens an important business opportunity for Skybridge, Arizona, since 2 out of 3 people with internet access have purchased something online. With this in mind, Skybridge is expected to capture 5% of the market that travels from the Southwest U.S. to Mexico and Latin America. Air logistics trade between Mexico and the Southwest U.S. represents approximately $650 million per year by 2025. Skybridge has the opportunity to cover 3 different interconnected markets. First, speed up and secure the shipment of merchandise to Mexico and Latin America, including e-commerce products. Second, take advantage of Skybridge's strategic location in the Phoenix metropolitan area to meet the demand of manufacturing and warehousing space for the growing technology, aerospace, and e-commerce industry. And finally, to accommodate professional development and growth in the area, office, and incubator space, particularly targeted to the aerospace industry. Its proximity to Arizona State University provides an important alliance to generate employment opportunities for new graduates. All of these elements will lead SkyBridge towards success. First, CBP and Mexican Customs have signed a Memorandum of Understanding to start the operation of the Unified Cargo Processing Program, which will be the detonator of merchandise shipment for SkyBridge, Arizona, between the United States and Mexico. Second, thanks to the approval of the Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport Agreement, SkyBridge, Arizona commences the development of 360 acres that will make up America's only international air logistics and cargo processing hub with Mexico. And last, SkyBridge, Arizona makes international commerce fast, simple, and reliable, adding the ease of trade into many more future potential destinations beyond Mexico into the rest of Latin America. SkyBridge, Arizona and its customs processing will be a critically demanded service in air logistics, enhancing the supply chain with safer handling and transportation for high-value goods. As the master developer, SkyBridge will follow a 15-year investment plan, beginning with the basic horizontal infrastructure and services of the project. This investment will attract other industry leaders that will invest in their own project needs, creating multi-million-dollar investments tailored to their industry demands. At its completion, SkyBridge, Arizona will generate tremendous market benefit that will be felt by not only the surrounding community, but the entire state of Arizona. With its 7 million residents, consolidating itself as a research, development, and aerospace manufacturing hub. With the support of an excellent team, SkyBridge, Arizona will consolidate as the first inland air logistics unified cargo inspection hub in the United States, becoming a generator of more and better jobs, providing a better product delivery service, increasing exports for the benefit of the Arizona worker, and with this, strengthening the collaboration links between the United States, Mexico, and Latin America.
And that's all happening 10 miles away. Like right now, if someone in Mexico City clicks on something, order it from the United States, it takes 10 to 14 days. When this is all set up, it'll take 2 to 3 days, and it's all going to come through our airport. So, and you can see all the job possibilities. Well, you know that how proud we are of our area and how we should be more of a tourism leader. Well, somebody else recognized that in the last week during spring training. And a film crew from San Francisco came out, and what did they have to say about us? Matt? Al?
I believe they may have talked to Al.
Al?
Why don't you,
Yeah, turn that off.
Some of their shots aren't that great. I would have picked some better shots, but still, they were talking about us in California, as you'll see.
I got that, yeah, okay.
This is from the independent television station in San Francisco.
We're going on a drive. Long Ken has been showing us all things to do during spring training in Arizona when you're not at the baseball game. This time he's taking us on another adventure away from the game.
We're going on a drive and a flight to the Superstition Mountains. It's a place of lost gold mines and Elvis.
About 40 miles east of Phoenix is a mountain range of myth and legend. This is what locals simply call the Superstitions. It's a rugged range that rises more than 6,000 feet. Highway 88 follows the centuries-old Apache Trail, first used by Native Americans, who later helped build the road that was used to haul supplies up and down the mountains during construction of water projects in the early 20th century. This is Goldfield Ghost Town, next to Lost Dutchman State Park. Legend has it the German immigrant revealed on his deathbed the location of a hidden gold mine. Prospectors have been searching for Lost Dutchman's mine ever since. A little farther up the mountain and you'll find Canyon Lake, one of 4 reservoirs that are part of the Salt River Project that provides water and power to central Arizona. It's also a popular boating area. Back on the ground, we drive to Apache Junction and to the old Apache Land movie set, where countless B-movie westerns were filmed. The original set burned down in 2004, leaving behind just a few structures.
Get on with it, Sheriff! Yeah! Come on!
This gallows was where Linda Evans was to be hanged in the Kenny Rogers series, The Gambler. This barn hosted many gunfights, and today has a wall covered with pictures of all the stars who've been here. But for many, the highlight is this small wooden church.
This chapel was built specifically for the movie Charo.
Charo was one of the last movies made by Elvis Presley.
They had no chapel, so they had to build one. Well, it also called for the steeple to get blown off, so they built 2 steeples. They brought one that they could blow off and one to be permanent.
Today, the church is covered with Elvis movie posters and pictures. There were no interior scenes shot for Charo here, but Elvis did perform here.
One of our volunteers was a 16-year-old kid, and he and his mom were extras in that movie. And he said Elvis would sit there and play his guitar for him, sing songs for him.
And yes, people do get married here. Usually, Elvis is moved to the side.
There's a couple of them that actually request Elvis to stay here. They want him to be part of their wedding pictures.
Wow.
I mean, if he's in the building, you got to have all this, right?
Imagine that kid at 16 actually getting to see him.
Yeah.
What was your favorite thing? You spent all that time there?
Well, you know, I'm like, obviously I like Elvis, so that was cool. And that was a
Yeah.
surprise. I didn't know. We were heading out into the mountains of Arizona, and all of a sudden I see this Elvis Chapel sign on the side of the road, and I said, well, I got to check this out. So there's a lot to do, and you know, it's a whole different topography and land, and everything's different than it is in the Bay Area. So it's an adventure, and there's a lot to do when you're not going to a game.
It
and
was
that's
a
an
lot
example.
of fun watching it. So.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
Okay, so social media gets a bad rap sometimes, but it can be a very positive force for good. Just within 24 hours, someone posted on Facebook that someone had dumped a bunch of tires right on the edge of town. This is in between the National Forest and our city in the county. And instead of whining about it and complaining, we had a couple local realtors, John Gordon and Travis Lucas, took it upon themselves to go clean it up. Because realtors, they're like the face of the city, just like our own Parks and Rec is. They went out there and cleaned it up. There's some shots of them doing it. And then one of our businesses, Discount Tire, agreed to take them all in. Ordinarily, there's a court charge on that. They took in 83 tires and helped out. So this is a perfect example of how our city came together in the community and how social media helps. So proud of those guys and everybody that got involved to help with that. So with that, we'll go to the city manager's report. Ryan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Bryant Powell, City Manager. I am very happy to report that the annual Scrub or Grub went great. Employees jumped right in. It's an effort and also a remembrance time for us that this is the month in which annually we remember the anniversary of when we received this building. We had been in temporary buildings for so long, thinking we may never get a city hall. And I hope we want to encourage our former city manager, George Hoffman, started this tradition, that we appreciate the investment from our citizens. And I remember when we first moved in here, how things changed for the employees and how we interacted with our staff and how we interacted with our residents. It changed significantly. So we'll keep that going. We thank you for the support. It's one day, and we jump right in. And congratulations to our telecommunication officers. We're so proud of them. They carry a heavy load and are the ones answering the call on most of the time everyone's their worst day. So Lisa, thank you for being here, and please pass along our huge thanks. We have our fire chief here with us. He's going to speak a little bit later. He has a neat announcement. When he wanted to touch base with me, I said, we already got the agenda, so come anyway. We'll have a neat announcement here in a little bit. But before we jump into my presentation on the downtown, we have here with us representatives from Republic Services who have a report on our quarterly cleanup, and maybe I'll call them up. And Stephen, maybe you could take the lead and go from there.
Hello. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having us today. We're going to talk a little bit of trash, if that's all right. So to introduce myself, I'm Stephen Herring, our Municipal Relationship Manager for the company, and I'll let these gentlemen behind me introduce themselves.
I'm Zach Venable, the Operations Manager for Apache Junction Landfill.
Good evening. My name's Jim Gruen. I'm the General Manager for our East Valley operations.
All right, so as you all know, we host quarterly free dump week at the Apache Junction landfill. So what we wanted to do today is share those results and then just talk about other things going on at the landfill and answer any questions that you may have. So from February 4th through February 9th of this year, we hosted free dump week, and we had 598 residents come out to the site, disposing a total of 149.5 tons. Additionally, the city brought out 5 trucks for a total of 2.59 tons. The total value of this, so basically the gate rate for residents, is about $4,800.
Wow.
Yep. And then I'll have Zach talk to some of the monitoring that we're doing at the site.
So as some of you may be aware, we added some groundwater wells about 1.5 years ago at the landfill, and we just wanted to take this opportunity to share with you the results of our last round of monitoring in December, and we're pleased to report that we're within accordance with our permit and no detections have been made.
Okay, short and sweet. We'll open it up for any questions.
Any questions?
I just have one quick one. There's been so much on the news lately about recycling and problems. I'd like to hear, are you having any issues like have been televised?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can speak to that. So we're actually the largest recycling company in the state of Arizona. We own and operate about 4 recycling facilities. So we've definitely felt the heat a little bit from the challenges of the market. With that said, we are continuing to recycle, and we plan to continue that as long as the service exists.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question to go off of.
Krista.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you give us an idea of where we can find a list of what can be recycled and what cannot? I know that we hear a lot of times that people are just people get excited about recycling, so they throw everything that they think, but it turns out that often there's a lot of items that can't be recycled, and rather than going through the list right now, I imagine it's kind of long, where can we go to find that list of recyclables and things that shouldn't be put in the recycle bin? Definitely, and I'm glad you asked, because what we call, what you're referring to is wish cycling. And it's actually the biggest issue that we face today in our industry is the amount of trash and other non-recyclables like diapers and even like medical waste that comes through our facilities. It's a huge health hazard. So the best resource is recyclingsimplified.com. It's a website that Republic Services has invested heavily in to provide the information that you're talking about, whether it's flyers, we have video how-tos. Basically, anything you want to know about recycling, you can get your answers there. Thank you.
Stephen, is there a way for you to send that link to me, the one that we can send out through social media that we would be able to?
Absolutely. Okay. And it's not, so it's created by Republic Services, but the rules are true even if you have a different hauler. So to apply to all residents.
Great, thank you. That'd be great for our community members to have. Thank you.
Anyone else?
So Mayor, maybe before we release them to go, Jim, you have a new role. You're going to be taking over Marique's spot, correct? I just want to make sure council understands, so I'm glad you're all here so I can get you all.
That is correct. So my role will be, I will be replacing Marique, and I will have oversight over the Apache Junction landfill, our 3 transfer stations, the Cactus landfill, and our hauling company.
So Marique was with us after Chris Coyle for a couple of years, and I understand she's got a promotion or something. And
that's correct.
And then Zach, you have our day-to-day. Okay. For any questions there, we have Zach to help us out at the day-to-day at the landfill.
One of the things we get asked about is the hard hats and vests. Is there anything we can say to streamline that and maybe save some folks some trouble of when they go out there themselves?
Sure. As a company policy, we do require that hard hats and vests be worn while disposing of waste in the active disposal area. It's for everybody's safety to make sure that they can be spotted, that they can be seen, and that an accident or an injury does not occur. We do offer loaner units at the scale house, and then we also offer them for sale for folks who don't want a loaner unit.
Thank you.
So, and if they would like to bring their own, they're more than welcome to as well.
Okay.
And any contact information you can share to you all. Can you send that to me, and I will,
Yes.
and I have it,
Yeah.
actually, so we'll get that.
Okay, thanks for staying around, and hope you found our announcements not so boring.
Thank you very much.
Very interesting.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Okay,
Peanut butter and jelly challenge.
you.
I was going to say, bring peanut butter and jelly next time, okay?
We will.
So the next part of this city manager report tonight is actually typically one of these that may have been on a work session, and because we combined the meetings. We're going to do this, and I'm very, very thankful to Janine and her staff, as well as Matt and Liz Legenbach, who helped us with all of these slides. There's a bunch of photos. It's been several years since we've adopted the downtown redevelopment implementation strategy.
I know.
And you recall, I used to do presentations every quarter. We used to have a tool in Arizona called the tax increment financing, and we were one of 2 cities with Casa Grande that had that tool. And during that time, we had many, many projects that we were doing, and we would be able to report on those. With the loss of that, our pace of implementing may seem like it's changed, but there's lots of things that we would like to show tonight to you and to the community about some of the outcomes that we're working. In the DRIZ, let's see if I can get to the right slide here. Let's see, Matt, let's go back a little bit. Here we go. In the DRIZ, there are a number of goals that encourage the use of public space and partnerships to promote. And one of the, as you're aware, one of the greatest accomplishments is Flatiron Park. And here are some photos of that. And since its implementation has been a model for implementing the downtown redevelopment implementation strategy as recommended. We've also have had partnerships that have helped us flourish and help the park keep continuing in a way. And here's an example of the types of partnerships that we had, not only with our local private companies, but also nonprofits who have stepped up. Then the partnerships for the park construction and park amenities were formed. This allowed for a very robust phase, as the features included that might be otherwise have been put off until future phases. And then don't forget the events. Somehow this is keep moving on me, Matt, so I don't know. You can help me. So I will try to keep going, and you can maybe follow Matt. So there we go. Let's do events. I won't touch this. And Parks and Rec staff have done a great job to implement numerous events. I think about all the things that have happened, and I could literally consider the amount of time in months. So we've had this asset for 23 months, and we've got everything from concerts in the park, yoga, art in the park, holiday fun, I Run For, and Rec and Read events that are, or just splashing around the splash pad. And our hope with this park has also been to now utilize it for private efforts. And one of the ones that have been just a huge success has been with a promoter who's successfully executed two events and the Blues Festival in coordination with Parks Department and the Chamber of Commerce. This year, the event planners opted to use local businesses like the Handlebar Pub and Grill to knock it out of the park. They're doing a fantastic business too, and it's noted the recent investments that are around our downtown. So the idea of public-private partnership and the idea that our private sector partners would also see the vision. And with our local Parks and Rec hosted events, there continues to be an invitation nearby businesses for inclusion of these special events, learning how to take advantage of the multitude of potential customers that will be at their doorstep. Recently, here's the next one, Matt, the support of Lost Dutchman Realty took a huge role in supporting the Halloween festival that we brought over to Flatiron. And you recall in the past we've been kind of scrunched on space, and so this one was a perfect place for it. There was a lot said in the DRIZ about revitalization and economic vitality, recognizing the need to mitigate barriers to revitalization, both commercial and residential properties. It's also encouraged investment and enforcement as a means of aesthetics and revitalization. Many of you have participated in Strong Sustainable Communities Initiative and the groups that have been involved, including Republic Services. So Matt, we'll go to a couple slides here forward. So here's a couple photos of the Community Development Corporation working together with Chief Kelly. Matt's in there. Keep going, Matt. We have a goal in the Community Development Corporation to join with our partners in the Strong Sustainable Initiative, and here's Larry and a group of you all working together on once a year we have a big investment, big event. Very recently, council voted unanimously to implement a stronger property maintenance code. And so while this slide doesn't look quite as exciting, for me, this is probably my most exciting slide. This is an outcome of your efforts over a couple years in strategic planning sessions that if we're gonna work on projects like the Flatiron Park, that we also need to have a review and of our codes. And the codes is such an important part of a message that's sending to our residents that we do not want to be we do not want to have any of our area in any indication of decline. You may recall Ed Goff. Ed Goff was the consultant that helped us through the process of the DRIZ, and he used to say we have to always be cautious of indicators of decline, and this new code is gonna help us a bunch. So part of the next phase of this presentation, talk about the median and our infrastructure. Apache Junction has a very distinguished downtown feature. It's one you don't see very often, which is a 50-foot wide, how do we explain it, dirt median that creates separation between the commercial businesses. And I view it as an opportunity. However, when we got started with the projects, we started with, let me go to the next one, Matt. We started with some beautification projects, and with the TIF, it really was able to get some things going real quick. And here's some of the examples through the TIF and actually the TEA grant opportunity. We've actually had to put aside, and we were able to get one section. So here's Fry's location. They were out of growing concerns of the vacant 60,000. We also worked with ADOT, and we worked with some raised medians and helped beautify it as new development came in. Today, so here's kind of some of that same median area that is just west of Idaho. To mitigate some of the safety concerns, one of the areas I like to show is this, if everyone can see this left turn area that turns right into the old Fry's. That was one of our projects that we did with very cost effective. We went out to bid it, and the private sector actually was right around 110,000, and our public works staff were able to quickly get that done and make it well under $50,000 project. The next slide, Matt. So this here is the part, kind of our next steps. This is the design. We've been working very closely with Nick Blake, our landscape architect, to provide us a design that would be able to help us start marching down and making some progress without the TIF. And so we are working with, next slide, Matt, the Arizona Sustainability Alliance in conjunction with the CDC to make a difference here in the fall. And we'll be bringing more information to the community. But in the fall here, we're going to actually start working from what I call like the bookends. The bookends of the area would be Meridian, and there's a chunk there would probably go to about Superstition Harley area, and then the other part would be just where we left off on Rennick. One more cultural, so that's kind of our effort. The mayor, we're going to be working on and inviting members of council, CDC, other groups to be able to reach out and see if we can encourage sponsorships of some of those and reduce the cost. And we're also going to be working with volunteers.
Like Republic Services.
Could be Republic Services, could be other groups that may want to sponsor. Yeah. So after tonight, the part of the purpose of this presentation is to kick off this next kind of phase for the downtown, and we will be putting together, Matt McNulty and us, to providing some information to you all and to the CDC to go forward and share with the community some thoughts and ideas on how to help pay for some of these improvements. Next slide, Matt. Keep going. All right, so although without formal guidance or long-term plan, without like an arts committee, in the early days, we took advantage of several opportunities to incorporate art. And with the help of Nick, we were able to get these pedestals in place. And the first piece, metal pedestal, is right here. And it embraced the essence of our desert setting and appreciation for our desert critters and landscape, made possible from a grant from the Gila River Indian community. Fast forward several years to Mayor Surtees led an effort to work with a local artist from the community, create and donate to the city a colorful custom sculpture that now adorns the westernmost pedestal. Not only did this project result in a beautiful piece of artwork, but the opportunity to consider how this might be utilized in the future, could be sold, is in your hands. We also, Matt, keep going, we also recently seen that art can be functional. Here's another pedestal that was recently implemented, and we were able to use our slogan there and our logo. Signage. Well, this was really neat here. This was a really neat unexpected outcome. That is one of our favorites, Josh Underwood, who was able to paint this. I don't know if anybody followed that, but TPG Accounting, private sector investment, painted their entire wall and invested in that and used one of our employees, actually. And that's the artist right there. Wayfinding was another big piece of the DRIZ. And on the next slide, we talk about signage. You may remember, this goes back a little way, some of the design efforts to help people know where they can go in the downtown. Wayfinding serves two types of pedestrian and vehicular types of signage. There's remember Brad Steinke, former Larry, and pointed to the one sign that we got. So this was right at the point at which TIF ended. And this was the next project to start working on. As part of the budget year, this year, 1920, we're hopeful that we'll be able to incorporate a number of new signs into the mix. There will be one new public roadway sign, but additional 4 signs are there for directional points to attractions and amenities and facilities along the route. So let's go. Yeah, so here are some of the areas in town that may be sprinkled across. Their AJ Surrounded by Legends brand continues to evolve and to be incorporated in various projects that were identified in the DRIZ. So that's the idea of branding, continued use of that identifiable logo. Matt, maybe the next one here is some of the signs and efforts in branding that we're using. I noticed that a city in the valley spent a lot of money to do this. Your city we use this on a very low budget. We didn't go out and get a consultant to help us with this. The bags are very notable, and this is a really neat investment here. We wanted to show everyone that we now have a design for our next bags. And our commitment continues, and we continue to want to do all that we can to keep investing in our downtown. This has been a long-standing policy matter for you and for our community, and we'll continue to do all that we can. We just wanted to give you an update. It's been a long time since I've done one of these with a lot of pictures. I think it's good to take a step back and think about, okay, what are the things that are going on, and celebrate those, and then also talk about our next project that's coming up here in the fall with the landscaping. So that's my presentation. I'm open for any questions if you have any.
Exciting stuff. Any questions or comments? Hey, thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes my report.
Presentation, discussion, and possible consideration of approval of construction agreement with DBA Construction. Heather.
Oh, you have it. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Oh, not this one.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. This one. Okay, so the item before you this evening is a construction agreement to get some work completed in our Grandview neighborhood. For a few years now, we've been focusing some CDBG and some state special project funding in that neighborhood to do sidewalks, some drainage. And so we actually bid out 2 projects that sort of came together at the same time. That would have been our fiscal year 2017 state special project and our fiscal 18 community development block grant round. So we bid it out to do some improvements on Main and Grand. And that's the map of the location there. What we'll be doing is some curb and gutter and sidewalks in that area. And we actually had to bid it out 3 times, unfortunately. The price was really, really high. So we had to make some changes, but we ended up getting, for the 3rd round, we got 3 bids. The lowest bid was within our reach. And so we are proposing
that DBA Construction be awarded the bid for a construction total of $529,229.50 plus a contingency totaling $555,690.98. It is our hope that construction will be started right away and be finished by the end of the fiscal year. And that is all that we have. Any questions on the project?
Don't see any.
Wonderful, thank you.
Does the council have any questions? I just want to make a comment of why these grants are important. Again, on social media, someone started some misinformation about us putting up cameras and better things we could be doing with our money, but it wasn't our money. It's all through grants like this. So this is why these grants are so important. And so do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that the construction agreement with DBA Construction for infrastructure improvements to the Grandview neighborhood in an amount not to exceed $555,690.88 be approved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Vizzi?
Yes.
Councilmember Struble?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson?
Yes, but I want to ask one question. The motion is for 88 cents, and you said 98 cents.
Oh, that might have been a typo. Let me go back and look at my papers.
So we need.
It is 98 cents. Yes.
So do we need to amend the motion to add that additional 10 cents into it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Councilmember Evans can just amend.
Okay, I amend the motion I just read to read $555,690.98
I'll
to
second.
be approved.
I'll second that amended motion.
So do we have to revote? Yes.
I'm confused. She just amended her own motion.
Second.
If
She has-
Councilmember Rizzi agrees, then you don't need to go through the whole amendment process. But thank
Okay.
you for catching that. Okay.
Okay, so I'll say yes
Okay.
after we straighten.
Councilmember Barker?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Mayor Surtee?
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Presentation, discussion, and possible consideration for Resolution 19-04.
Oh,
Because ours says 3.
oh, yes.
This says 4, this says 3.
Yep.
That's funny.
It's 4.
We already,
We're on item 12.
yes.
Yes, 1904. So this resolution is to commit local funds as leverage for our next state special project application, which was fiscal year 2018. You may recall that we did this public participation process and submitted the application, the public participation process quite some time ago. The application is now just being due here on May 1st. And during that public participation process, we did identify the Grandview neighborhood again as the project that we wanted to submit. So it would, of course, continue on what we just awarded on 2 other grant projects. So we would focus that effort on, again, sidewalks, some drainage improvements, and curb and gutter. And that's because it's a state special project application, it is competitive statewide, so providing leverage towards the project, of course, not only will allow us to do a larger project, but it does make us more competitive in the application round.
Any questions?
I have a little bit.
Yes.
Your Honor, thank you. Heather, Mayor Surtee had just mentioned some of the communications that take place on social media sometimes when these stories get written. And there were, people that post a lot of questions. We need, this, and we need this, and we need this. For these grants, isn't there a defined list of things that these qualify for that have to be used for when we apply for them?
Absolutely. The Community Development Block Grant Program is a HUD program, and so they do require that the funds are invested and benefit 3 main areas. One being community that is considered low to moderate income, and based on our Census 2010 data, Our community as a whole is not. So we couldn't do a project that would benefit the entire community, but we could do a project that benefits a specific area within a redevelopment area. And the Grandview neighborhood is within that redevelopment area, the Apache Trail redevelopment area. So that is why we do focus some of our funding in that area.
Thank you.
If no more questions, I'll call for a motion.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that resolution number 19-04, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Apache Junction, Arizona, committing local funds as leverage for fiscal year 2018 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, State Special Project, SSP. Applications be approved.
Second.
Roll call.
Vice Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Barker,
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzi,
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Struble,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Mayor Surtee.
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Discussion and consideration of 19-03.
Thank you. Okay, Resolution 19-03 is a resolution authorizing us to submit an application to the Governor's Office of Highway Safety. We do have 5 separate projects and applications that we actually did submit on the due date of March 15th. And so this would be a retroactive resolution. The timeline is very short from when they release the grant to when they want it submitted, so this is how it ended up working out. But we do, they do have specific requirements on what their funding can be used for, and we submitted 5 applications for DUI enforcement and purchasing portable breathalyzer tests, machines, and some motorcycles, some speed enforcement overtime, radars, some training for our accident investigations staff people, and some vehicles. So we have a whole variety of things. Our total amount that we're requesting is $290,250.
Any questions?
So we could get anything from 0 to that amount, or are we gonna, or will we only get that amount or nothing, or?
We could get anything from 0 to 290,
So
absolutely.
to cover whatever that is, and then at that point, if they award us, let's say, $150,000, then we can choose which one of those we want to, or do we have a number 1 we want, number 2, is that how they're listed, or can we pick and choose depending on the money we get?
We did put in our priorities. However, they will ultimately be the one to say, okay, we'll give you this amount for this particular item, this, you know, so they'll tell us what we can do.
Bryant, just a comment. With the census coming up in 2020, this is part of the reason why the census is so important, to show the numbers that we actually have, because it affects these numbers, correct?
That is correct. The census is essential. We need everyone to participate. We need to get the word out throughout this year. We're within the year mark now. And accurate numbers is the best, and so everyone to be counted is so important.
And we're even talking about somehow about getting credit for the winter visitors, which as of right now we don't, but possibly so. Then we can do even more, because they do use our infrastructure, and it would be so nice if we can somehow not fudge the numbers, but just get our accurate numbers, because there's a lot more people here than 40,000 for the whole year. And right now just throwing that out there. If you no more questions, I'll call for a motion.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that resolution number 19-03, a resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Apache Junction, Arizona, pertaining to the submission of projects for consideration in Arizona's 2020 Highway Safety Plan be approved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Barker,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Struble,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzi,
Yes.
Mayor Surtee.
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Heather, on to 19-05.
Who's really saving these up? Okay, so we've been talking about awarding 17 and 18, as another submission for 18. This is now the public participation process for the fiscal 19 round. We did hold a public meeting in February. As usual, I addressed the leadership team to get their opinion and their input on projects. We are now coming before you this evening to just share the potential projects that have been discussed thus far, and we'll be back to you on April 16th for a formal public hearing, and then we will be submitting our applications after that. So tonight I am simply going to discuss and share with you the projects that have been proposed so far. Our funding available is the CDBG round. We are anticipating just under $175,000. Last year we got $165,000. The application will be due in August. And then the 19 state special project funding is $300,000, and it is anticipated that the application would be due in the summer of 2020. So, as asked before, CDBG and state special project funding must address one of these three national objectives as identified by HUD, one being a project to benefit low to moderate income people. And within that, there's some subsets. It could be the community-wide, which we do not qualify for, a limited clientele, which would be somebody, a specific population that by virtue of that classification, they would be just deemed low to moderate income, and then an area benefit that is specific to a neighborhood. So say we did just want to do a street within a neighborhood, then we'd have to qualify all the residents on that street. The second is the redevelopment area, to which the Grandview neighborhood is what I mentioned falls under, and we do have 2 redevelopment areas. And then the third is an urgent need, and this isn't applicable to us. It would have to generally be a state or presidential declaration of some sort of disaster, and then we would address that. Just so you know, these are our 2 redevelopment areas. The red is the Apache Trail redevelopment area, and the blue is the Old West Highway redevelopment area. So the projects that have come up is a continuation of the Grandview improvements, which would be in that Apache Trail redevelopment area. Both funding sources are good for this project. This does demonstrate the number of residents in the area and the percentage of low to moderate income. Again, we would continue with sidewalks, curb and gutter, some drainage solutions. The next, back in fiscal 16, the city underwent a acquisition demolition project, and then we worked with Habitat for Humanity to build 3 new homes. This go around, the Community Development Corporation would like to undertake that project instead of the city. So they're proposing under the CDBG funding, which again is about $175,000, a little bit less, to purchase 1 lot, demolish whatever's on it, and then build a new home for a family. And of course, that family would have to be proven to be low to moderate income in order to make this an eligible project. Public services, any local nonprofit that serves our residents that is under that limited clientele classification would be able to request some funding for their project. At this time, no nonprofit has requested any funding or proposed a project that was eligible. And generally speaking, that again would be under the limited clientele benefit. Finally would be our housing rehab program. We do get funding under a different funding source for this, but I always just throw this out there. I do want you to notice in the lower right-hand corner, I am currently looking for homeowners, so this is a little bit of an advertisement. So I really do encourage anyone who lives in the community in our city limits who owns their home and needs some improvements done, which could be roofing, heating, air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, anything of a health and safety issue, that they give me a call and we can get them an application right away. And did you have any questions?
There's your phone number.
And my phone number, yeah.
Krista has a question.
Heather, that prior screen, was that a flyer that you have? The blue, is that a flyer?
Yeah.
Can you send that to us?
Sure.
Thank you.
Any more discussion?
Heather, when is this coming back for further?
April 16th, it will be a public hearing, yes, and then this resolution would be up for your approval.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Do we have a motion on upcoming council dates? Plural.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that an executive session at 6 PM and a work session at 7 PM be held on Monday, April 15th, 2019, and an executive session at 6 PM and a work session at 7 PM be held on Tuesday, April 16th, in the City Council Conference Room and City Council Chambers at 300 East Superstition Boulevard, Apache Junction, Arizona, respectfully.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Barker,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzi,
Yes.
Councilmember Struble,
Yes.
Mayor Surtee,
Yes.
unanimous, Your Honor.
And we have one call to the public tonight, and that is Chief Mike Farber.
Thank you. Mike Farber, 565 North Idaho Road, Apache Junction. Just wanted to bring some good news to you. We got our ISO rating. I came to you originally to talk to the City Council, I think it was October of 2015. So we came short. We were an ISO rating 3, which put us in the top 92 percentile. But we were shooting for a 2, so we just got news Thursday that we reached our ISO 2, which puts us in the top 4% of all fire departments in the nation.
Congratulations.
Yes, so it was an arduous process, and it was one in which that encompasses just about everything that we do with our service delivery, including our response times, amount of personnel on duty, amount of command training and fire training we do, fire prevention, fire investigations, community risk reduction. You pretty much name it, and including how much water apparatus flows and how often we test it, and then the water distribution system, and then the dispatch system that we currently are part of the regional system with Mesa. So we're very fortunate to get a 2. What that should mean for everybody here is your insurance rates based on your homes and as well as your businesses are predicated on what the Insurance Service Office, which ISO stands for, Public Protection Classification, or PPC, rating. So we're the same as Mesa, and I won't mention the cities that we're better than, but for our size, and one of the things, I wanted an ISO 2 because I'm never really happy. So I got 2 years and 59 more days before I have to leave, so I want the 1. We're 9% off. And some of it is in our control. We have Mesa coming this way, and the nice thing about Arizona that people may not realize is we have one of the unique systems in the nation. For us, we have 23 auto-aid cities that we have the same dispatch system, same procedures, literally the same pay, and units just keep coming. And when we do ISO rating, they want to know how many times do we get. It's supposed to be 90% of the time we get 1 unit there within 4 minutes or less, and the other remaining units within 8 minutes. And in order to do that, obviously, the auto-aid system helps. So we started out, when I started out 35 years ago with AJ, we were a 5 and a 9. So a 2 is a heck of an accomplishment, but this is my opportunity to brag. So I got 40 seconds left. So one of the things which is, this is the perfect place to have a cardiac arrest. We have 4 times the national average of survivability. We also have 10% higher than the state's average. So we were the first department back in, 30 years ago to 12 lead EKG. So for our size, we really do kick butt. And it's proud to come here. So contact your insurance companies, and if they're not going to give you a break, then get somebody else. But anyway, so we'll get it down to a 1. But we don't have anybody coming from the east, north, or south, so within 5 miles, so that kind of hampers us a little bit, but we'll get there. So, any questions?
Thank you.
Congratulations.
You think I rehearsed this?
Yeah, we, all done.
Yeah, we can ask questions, but does anybody want to make any comments or respond?
Well, I sure appreciate they're doing a good job, and appreciate them as well.
Yeah, hard work. Thank you.
And with that, we'll be adjourned until the 15th.
Are we done?